Shema Israel. Hope you enjoy this next study. My name's Dee. This is my wife, Millie.
So if you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you wish to reach out to us, you can email us at devotedtoyah@gmail.com.
All right, shalom, shalom. We are in Exodus chapter 16. Let's share the screen and get right into it. Exodus chapter 16, verse 8 to 36. Here we go. And Moses said, "This will happen when Yahuwah gives you meat to eat in the evening and bread to the full in the morning. For Yahuwah hears your grumblings, which you grumble against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yahuwah." Right off the bat, I just want to say things are starting off with Yahuwah working in the evening. All right, meat to eat in the evening and bread to the full in the morning. Verse 9. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Say to all the congregation of the sons of Israel, come forward before Yahuwah, for he has heard your grumblings." And it came about, as Aaron spoke to the entire congregation of the sons of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of Yahuwah appeared in a cloud. Hallelujah. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, "I have heard the grumblings of the sons of Israel. Speak to them, saying, at twilight or at evening," it's the same difference, "at evening you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah your God." Again, verse 12 is coinciding with verse 8. Okay, verse 12 and 8. Meat in the evening, bread in the morning. It's a pattern. Where we at? Verse 11, verse 13. So it came about at evening that quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. Okay, so there's consistency here. Yahuwah said you're going to have meat in the evening and bread in the morning. And so far, this is what we see. It came about, so it came to pass in the evening that the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. Verse 14, when the layer of dew evaporated, behold, on the surface of the wilderness there was a fine flake-like thing, fine as the frost on the ground. When the sons of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, It is the bread which Yahuwah has given you to eat." Okay, so right off the bat, if you could scroll up to verse 8 for me again, please. Little review. This will happen when Yahuwah gives you meat to eat in the evening and bread to the full in the morning. There is a distinction. There are two different types of foods that are being spoken of in this passage. And for some reason, we're highlighting this particular bread, which came in the morning. And me and my wife were busting our brain over this a little bit, trying to figure out what's going on in the story. We did a cross reference and found the story in Numbers chapter 11, verse 6, and Numbers chapter 10. So Numbers chapter 10, verse 11 is context for Numbers, what's happening in Numbers chapter 11, verse 6. In Numbers chapter 10, verse 11, it tells us that it came to pass in the second year, in the second month of the second year. Okay. Yeah, Numbers 10, verse 11. Now, in the second year, in the second month, on the 20th of the month, the cloud was lifted from above the tabernacle of the testimony, okay? And then you skip to Numbers chapter 11, verse 6, and it continues with the story. I didn't see no break between Numbers 10, 11, and Numbers 11, 6. But anyway, in Numbers 11, 6, there's another complaint. So this is 2 years later, okay? 2 years later from where we're at right now, Exodus chapter 16. 2 years later, there's another complaint in Numbers chapter 11, verse 6. And this is what the Israelites say. We'll start at 5. It says, "We remember the fish which we used to eat for free in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our appetite is gone. There is nothing at all to look at except this manna." So we were busting our brains because we were like, hold on, how are they saying that there's nothing to look at except this manna? But they were giving quail in Exodus chapter 16. I ain't gonna lie, I was struggling with this. I was like, oh my goodness. So I read some commentaries, I looked up some research. There's different interpretations. Some people believe that there was quail for a certain amount of time that no one knows, and then it stopped. Some people believe, as we're willing to entertain the idea, that it just happened that one day. That one particular day that started this story off in Exodus chapter 16. It's almost like a, hey, welcome to another miracle of God dinner. You know, here's some quail for you, some meat, some actual meat. Okay. But because of the way the rest of the story goes in Exodus, I can understand why there's different debates over how long did the quail last, because it kind of is not mentioned anymore. The focus becomes the manna. So we're going to go along with that thought. And let's continue reading. Verse 16. This is what Yahuwah has commanded. Everyone gather as much as he will eat. You shall take an omer apiece according to the number of people each of you has in his tent. The sons of Israel did so, and some gathered much, and some gathered little. When they measured it, I'm thinking the it is the context, is the manna. I was thinking before me and my wife were discussing this, I was thinking the it was both the quail and the manna. But no, it seems like the it is clearly, if you go back a little bit for me, verse 15, right there at the end of 15. What is it? What is it? Okay. And then later on it says, it is the bread. So from this point forward, it seems like the it that's being spoken of here is the manna. All right. Verse 18. When they measured it by the omer, the one who had gathered much did not have too much, and the one who had gathered little did not have too little. Everyone gathered as much as he would eat. So the people who gathered a lot, they didn't have too much. The people who gathered just a little bit, they didn't have too little. Everybody gathered what they needed. Verse 19, Moses said to them, no one is to leave any of any of the manna until the morning, or any of the bread until the morning. But they did not listen to Moses. They didn't listen. We're going to talk about this later. They did not listen to Moses, and some left part of it until the morning. And it bred worms and stank, and Moses was angry with them. They gathered it, the manna, morning by morning. This is the pattern that Yahuwah is showing us, but we can't forget it started in the evening. Even though there's a pattern, there's a focus, a shift of focus from quail and manna to only manna. That is not where things began. Why is D saying this? What's his point? Why is he emphasizing this? There's a lesson I believe that can be taken out of this story, besides the obvious lessons of don't complain, don't grumble, which my wife did a great job explaining in the previous videos. The lesson here is I've been hearing a lot of people who, read Enoch, Jubilees, Yasher, whatever, and they have determined that a day starts in the morning. And this is one of the passages that they go to claim that a day starts in the morning. So the reason why I'm repeating myself and trying to help you see the pattern is to not lose track of what is in the context of this story. I believe that this story does a good job defending that a day starts in the evening. Quail was the very first event in verse 8. So this will happen when Yahuwah gives you meat to eat in the evening and bread to the full in the morning. So we have something that's being done in the evening, something that's being done in the morning. That's the way the story starts. I feel like it starts there because that's when a day begins. It starts in the evening. So, but then there's a shift of focus where we go focus only on this manna in verse 15 or 14 and on, right? So now we're focusing on this which that that manna was to give you enough food at some point for the morning, for the entire daylight hours, and for the evening and the entire night hours until the morning, which, as we discussed in previous videos, morning doesn't just start when the sun rises. Morning actually begins before the sun rises. Okay, so from morning to morning, the morning is the starting point. The beginning of the morning is the starting point, and the beginning of the morning is the finish line. That's an entire 24-hour period of sustenance of food for an entire 24-hour day. And so that's the first thing I want you to just hone in on and focus on.